Hey guys, Chad Andrews here, the 33 rule. If I were to say to you a photo Lombardi or McGuire, what would come to your mind? For your old timers, you know what I'm talking about. For your young pups, you have no clue what I'm talking about. And I'm talking about Erik Saunders, former professional cyclist for those two teams. And he has been instrumental in the cycling scene for Winston-Salem. So now we're going to do his interview. Some videos here that we started probably 3 weeks ago with Ken Putnam. We've made our way, and now we're kind of on to our sprinter now in our peloton. And I want to bring in Erik Saunders. Erik, welcome to our little viddly diddly.
Right on. Yeah, happy to do it.
All right, so I know that you're on the West Coast now. What are you doing out there?
I'm doing a little bit of everything. You want the long story? You want the short story?
Give it to us.
We're doing it, raising the family, going to work every day, making the moves. Yeah, I ride my bike a little bit. Yeah, it's been all good. We're still in the bike game.
Yeah, I see that. Memory Pilot. Is that the deal? Is that the deal?
Yeah. So I started a brand called Memory Pilot, and out of my vast experience in the bike industry, I just I was tired of kind of working for other bike companies and wanted to do my own thing based in production. So we do a really great pair of technical socks called the Watt style socks, which I design and procure. And then we also have a small factory where we produce mud guards for mountain bikes and then rear seat fenders for road bikes.
Yeah, and you can customize them. I saw on your website, right?
Yeah, you can get anything you want. There's an online design tool. We can do most of our customers are other businesses, so we do a lot of custom stuff for shops and other bike brands. But you can go get a one-off of your dog on a fender if you want, or you can design something fun for your friend's birthday, or you can have something between you and your friends and put that on there, and off you go. We do everything. We want to make it accessible to people. You can do one or you can do 3,000. It's all good. We got you, and it's going to be easy.
All right, so why the move from Winston-Salem, which is why we're here? We're talking about the Grand Fundo coming up in March, and then we've got the team launch on the 18th of March.
Yeah. It's a long story. I mean, but ultimately, my wife is from out here, and we were having a family, and all of her family's out here, and my family wasn't really in the East Coast anymore, so it just became a practical thing. When you got a lot of young kids, it takes a lot of people to support that, and we had that support out here, so we came out here.
All right, so let's flash back. Tell us a little bit about how you fit into the whole Winston-Salem cycling scene.
Yeah, so I grew up in Richmond, Virginia. So I'm from the Southeast originally, and came up, in the 90s, early 90s, racing, in the Southeast, in the Carolinas, down into Florida, race a lot in Maryland, and some in the Northeast as well. But mostly we were racing in Virginia and in the Carolinas. So, we always knew about Winston-Salem, and it'd come there every year because they had the Carolina Cup. And there was a lot of riders around from that general triad area. So it was always on the radar, even I think before me, even in the 80s, it was always on the radar. So when I stopped racing, and I was living out in California, when I started having kids, I stopped wanting race, I had a lot of friends in Winston-Salem and was looking to do something a little bit different, and wanted to move. So we moved out there, and I was just doing the same thing I'd always done. I'd always known bike racing, and if I wasn't racing, I was definitely going to stay involved. And I was living in Winston-Salem, and there was already a great group of people, with Ken, and John Hamblin and Jamie Bennett, and a few others. And we just kept doing what we loved doing, just in a different way, not pedaling the bike so much, but, doing events, doing teams. We started a nonprofit called Cycle Safe. And we did a lot of community things, and it was just an extension of our love for the sport. And we were doing it together in Winston-Salem, because there was already a great network of people who were there.
All right. Before we get onto that, tell us a little bit about this, because I want to briefly touch on your career. What do we got here? Little photo. Willem,
some old
Monse from. So tell us about your experience racing at the pro level, with a photo McGuire. I mean, these are all like flashbacks.
Yeah. No, it was good times. There's not a lot to say. The sport, I think, is so different now. From the outside looking in, I'm not really on the inside the way that I was, but it was a great time. There was a lot of races. There were a lot of opportunities for riders to win prize money. There was a lot of times that you could, have a local race that was really well attended, and there was a lot of big professional races. And I think it's a little bit different now. So I for me, I feel like that was probably, in the late '90s. Which some of the time I spent in Europe, but certainly in the early mid 2000s, that was like a golden age, for professional racing in the United States. It was a really good time to be doing it. So I was really fortunate, I think, to be in the sport in the time that I was. And even the extension of some of the things that we had done after I stopped racing were, in some ways trying to continue that style, that experience of racing, sort of past, when I had done it, to try to keep it going for others. So it was a good time. There was never a dull moment. There was a lot to race for. There were a lot of great races. There were a lot of great fans, and you were never bored.
I feel terrible that I don't have the answer to this, but did you ever win Haynes Park or Carolina Cup? Which are two
I won
local,
Carolina. Yeah.
For the local,
I
for
never
people who don't know, those are our two kind of old school crits that were prevalent back in the day.
Yeah, that's true. I never rode Haynes Park. I only was part of the group promoting it in the later years. But as a junior, I won Carolina Cup.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
in juniors, I won Carolina Cup. Yeah. And then I don't think in seniors I ever really rode it and got a good result. I think maybe I got third or fifth one year, but yeah.
One that I'm sure that you would like to have had. All right. Here's some memories from me of you back in the day when you were back in the Carolinas. Number one, when I would race against, so the evolution of it goes, does it go a photo and then cycle safe and then time, or was it time and then cycle safe?
So that's, you kind of like have two things happening. So, there was my own career in the teams that I was, employed by. And then there was the one team really that I was part of the management of. So when I retired, I was in a team called Successful Living last year, and
Presented by
then
Park Creek.
yeah. I think in 2008 we kicked off the time factory development team.
Okay. That was 2008?
Yeah, that was I want to say 2008, or yeah, 2008, 2007 maybe. I'm hazy on the dates, but it could have been end 2007 when we kicked it off, because I remember we had a little, the way that team started was in like Qdoba, like in like a little bit by the med center, like down the hill from Ardmore, and then you go back up the hill and there's like a little shopping center with a
Yeah.
Whole Foods, and we just sat at Qdoba and like decided how we were going to do this team day, and that was the beginning of it, right? So it
Do you remember
was,
who was at
yeah,
that
it
meeting
was
in
it was
Winston?
and that was me, John Hamlin, and Jamie Bennett, just sitting at the table eating burritos, going, man, it would be cool if this and that and the other thing, and we just went and made it happen.
That's pretty cool. There's a memory that I
Yeah.
remember. Well, there's a memory that I remember, of course, that's being redundant, but there's a memory at the Hencappy Spring Series. And I remember you and Pat Raines, and I thought this was so cool because, at that time I was still racing as a Cat 1-2, but doing my commentary. And I remember at the Spring Series one year with the Time Kids, and I remember it was like Chris Monleone and a whole bunch of younger guys that were on the team, that you guys literally would take them to the front of the bike race in the Pro 1-2 race, take them all the way to the back, bring them all the way back forward, and take them all the way back. And I was like, okay, he's working these kids.
Well, yeah, that was one of those things where, the first year of the team, it was just an amateur team with a bunch of kids, basically. And, there's a lot of things that when you're young, you don't really know about, because at that level, the sport's a lot of clubs. It's not really like teams, like serious, like
Right.
it's clubs. And there's a lot of people who never really rode at a really high level and don't know a lot of the basic things that you need to know as a bike racer. So that was based on my experience, in Europe. And I think a lot of the North Americans who go over to Europe at a younger age sort of run into this, where there's things that as a young 20 something riding in the States, you don't know, that every European knows by the time they're 15, just because the sport is so much more developed with coaching and teams and the level of racing. And so just how to buck in a pack as a group, how to use your teammates to better your position, and how to stay organized within the pack is like something every 18-year-old in Europe knows how to do, but almost no 18-year-old in the States knows how to do, because they don't really race on teams. They're like the best kid in their club, and they're used to going to races and racing alone, racing by themselves. They might have other dudes in their same jersey, but how often do your reaction to it just says it all. How often do you ever see, five guys working together in the pack to improve the position of another two guys so that they can be more effective in the race? Like, you don't often see that. So that first year of the team was always working those kinds of things, and kind of up in their education level, so that, eventually in the middle of the year and the end of the year, when we're going to these bigger races, we can play, we can race our bikes. And it's because of little things like that, you know that makes the big difference. Why are the big guys fresh in the end and can ride you off the wheel? It's because they had three other guys making sure they were at the right place at the right time all day long, didn't have to put their nose in the wind. And as a good young 18, 19, 20-year-old bike racer, you might have the legs they have, but you've been having to do your whole own work for like an hour,
Right.
and your main competitors haven't had to do anything. So we wanted to teach that, and we did a lot of teaching things, and it paid off. It
It
was a
did.
good thing.
Yeah. It was pretty cool to watch. I mean, it was interesting to watch. I knew what you guys were doing, but a lot of the amateurs that were racing in the 1-2 race were like, why do these guys keep going to the front of the race and the back of the race, the front of the race and the back of the race and doing water bottles and all this stuff? I said, it's a teaching moment. It's a teaching moment.
Yeah,
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 that was
like how to share a water bottle, like just basic stuff, how to do the feed zone, how to. And then when we were the next year of the team, when we were a UCI team, how to go, how to use the caravan, how to go get bottles out of the caravan, how to get a wheel change, all that kind of stuff. We had to teach all that kind of stuff, because in Europe, that by the time you're 18. In the United States, you may never have to know that until your first pro contract.
right.
So we're trying to accelerate the learning curve and get the team on the level faster. It's not all about watts per kilogram and your training. It's like racing is a craft, and you can have a big motor and no craft, and you won't win anything.
Here's something that I found very interesting too, that you guys were one of the, for Winston-Salem based crew, you guys were one of the very first to lean into technology, because you guys in my very first training center back in 2003 did a talent identification camp. I don't know if you remember that or not, but you came down to my very
Yeah.
first training center and we did like a little talent ID to see who out of the Southeast could actually ride their bike, and put out some watts.
I've been using power meters since like the original first power tap. I want to say like in 98 I was using a power meter. So, I understood what that was, and I was also really interested in exercise science, and you were doing your thing, and you're pretty much early in the game with that as well. And so there was no, if we wanted to get a good look at guys, I just wanted to have objective numbers to see who the athletes were, um, from a physiological standpoint, and get that out of the way. So we could do some testing and know the basics of who the athletes were in that moment. And then we could concentrate on the rest of the stuff, which was, who's coachable, who really wants to be there, who's really got, the mentality that it takes. I was always more interested in that stuff than the physiological stuff, because you can train the other things, right? But you can also train the mental game too, let's be honest. But I was much more interested in who the people were than, what their physical, capabilities were. Because we're talking about, category 3, category 2 kids. None of them are fully potentiated. So I'm not interested in their watts per kilogram at that point. I'm interested in who they are as people. And we had a really great camp that year, I remember, and we hired a couple kids out of that camp, and the camp was great because it was accessible, it was low cost. We made it really easy, to attend. I wish that more teams did stuff like that, but it just didn't. We had in that group, we had a different mentality for how to do things. And a lot of it, unfortunately, I don't think has survived into the modern landscape.
Interesting. Who was your, did you have like a mentor back in Winston-Salem that you kind of looked up to when you moved into town, or were you already felt pretty confident and stable in your relationship with the sport of pro cycling?
Yeah, I mean, I had already done it. I'd done it my whole life, so as far as like where I fit into things, I knew what I wanted to give, and I knew, I had a really good idea about what I wanted to accomplish. But you can't do stuff by yourself. So I think having John Hamblin there and Jamie Bennett there. And, later we brought in Pat Raines, and that was like the good group of guys who, um, had the right mix of attitudes and abilities to get something off the ground and keep it going. So that was like our little core group of guys, um, who for me, were at the same time like, inspiring me, but also we were like, co-collabs. That's kind of two of the same thing, isn't
Sorry, you cut out there for a
yeah,
second.
that was the group right there.
That was the crew. That was the
Yeah,
posse. That was
the group was that was yeah, yeah, yeah. We kept each other, in it and functioning properly, so it was good.
out of that. So you guys established yourself as kind of like the ringleaders back in the late 90s and early 2000s. Who when you guys started, did you think to yourself, okay, this kid's got potential, and that was in the area that you guys had already pigeonholed or close?
Well, I'll say this, like I really didn't want to operate that way, because I thought all the kids we had in our team, had potential, so I feel like a lot of what's the problem is with development is like it's the one kid mentality where like it's lazy from a development standpoint. Of course there's always one kid you can pick out of the crowd, but can you put your arms around that entire crowd and get all those kids there, or a big group of those kids there? Can you can you grab a handful of them, and separate out the wheat from the chaff? Can you, you know, of course you can pick one kid that looks good, but as someone who's trying to develop a group and build an organization, you got to build the bench. So our team was focused on getting everybody, on the level. Now, like obviously in that first year, you kind of had a known quantity in kids like Chris Monteleone. We had a kid named Brandon McKeever. And then in that first year, we brought on Andy Baker, who was actually a junior. And so there you need the kids who sort of have, the beginnings of a pedigree to motivate the other kids. But it was, for us, it was never about the one kid's got the legs, so let's all rally around him. um it's really about, how we're doing our job if the worst kid in our team is still a useful bike racer. So that was our mentality.
Cool. Can you give us, and I know there's 1,000 stories out there because I'm hanging around with Heckman and Hamblin and all the guys from Mountain Khakis all the way down to Time Development and Time Pro Cycling. Is there a story that not many people know about from the Winston-Salem crew that you think should come to light right now?
No, not that should come to light, no.
Can you give us a PG version of one?
No, I don't know, man. I wish I did, man. I mean, the guy to ask those questions is like John Hamm. He's got a steel trap memory. He's like an elephant. I don't know. Yeah, I'm so in the moment, and I don't really know what happened back then.
It'll
I
come
know the
out in
feelings.
March.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe if someone I can riff off somebody else that's really got the idea down. I don't. Yeah, I don't hold on to stories like that, man. I apologize for being
No,
boring.
don't sweat it. Don't sweat it. Don't worry. What is it that you miss about, now that you're an entrepreneur, what is it about that you miss about racing in Winston-Salem, racing at the elite level, and even managing a team? And I know that's kind of a loaded question, but what are some of the things that you do miss about it?
The good thing is like I don't really have to miss any of it because those elements that I enjoy, I can continue to do those things, even outside of the context of cycling, I can still construct my life to where I get to do those things. So the things I enjoy, most are, the relationships with the people, the problem solving part of it, the figuring out, how you're going to get from point A to point B, the logistics part of racing, I just really liked, and the logistics part of the
I think we lost you there for a second. We can't hear you, Eric. Sorry.
Oh, Eric,
I hear
your call went. Hi,
his call went to Bluetooth on his wife's car.
Bluetooth in my
Oh,
car.
how perfect.
Okay, I'm gonna pull away and then it'll probably disconnect me.
Oh, this is the best thing ever. Technology in 2022. Tell your wife.
Exactly. Now we got kids in the minivan. It's a whole nother scene.
Oh, this is way better than interviewing Eric. I want to hear the kids going crazy.
I got it.
All right, I think I heard you back. Yeah.
Oh, that
Yeah,
was
that's
so good,
everybody.
man. That was your wife.
That's everybody.
Kids.
Yeah, they're going to school, so it's all good.
Well, good. Well, listen,
Yeah,
I know
so I don't know how we'll edit that.
Oh no, we're not editing that. That's really good. Your wife was cracking up. I think it was great. What
Yeah.
So last question before we let you go, so you can start your day with your business. Are you going to be Hamblin and Reigns fit when you come back in March?
Nah. Nah. No, I got stuff to do, man. I'm tired. They're retired from they're retired from the world of work. They got nothing to do but ride bikes. I got other stuff going on.
All right. Well,
actually, Hamlin's busy because he's got like a gang of kids. But yeah,
he's got a gaggle of kids, right?
Yeah, there's no way. I don't even think I'm planning on bringing a bike, so I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'll just drink beer. I'll be down at First Street having a Guinness.
Yeah, I might after my commentary, I might do 10 miles and then join you. Anything else that you want to add about? Anything you want to add about your experience in Winston-Salem, or do you feel that you've kind of covered it? Because there's just so many stories are going to come up, and every time I do an interview, something else comes about it.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that, like, people remember what we did, and I appreciate that people link what we did to the town, because you can't take, Winston-Salem out of the equation when you talk about, that team and what it meant to the world of cycling at that time. I mean, because it wouldn't have happened without, Winston-Salem being the town that it is and having the people that it has. It's a combination of all those things. It was, it was a livable place, which is why I chose to move there. So it had that going for it. It has really great roads. It's beautiful and green, and it has close proximity to a lot of other towns with a lot of other cyclists and a lot of opportunities, to put on, bike races. So it was in the city, I'm sure it's even better now. I mean, the city accepted cycling and cyclists. So we were able to put on, the Haynes Park Criterium, in the 2000s, and, picking that back up from Ken. The Carolina Cup was able to happen. And there was a lot of racing in Greensboro and Burlington and all these places in that area, because the area was what it was. So it's a special place and continues to be, I think, and the people who are there, I think absolutely should feel fortunate and lucky that they've got, the right mix of things to do something really cool in the sport. Because not a lot of places have that. Like, you're not gonna, where I live now in Santa Barbara, California, you're not gonna have that happen. You're not gonna have, you're not gonna have had two professional teams out of that area. You're not gonna have the kind of riders come out of that area that have come out of that Winston-Salem area. You're not gonna have the kind of events that we had and continue to have. So it's a good spot to be for bike riding.
Awesome. Well, listen, we'll let you go. If you would hang on for just a second after our interview, but Erik Saunders, of course, what's your company again? I'm actually going to link it down below in our video. Where can they find it?
Yeah, Memory Pilot. Yeah, the brand is Memory Pilot. So the website is memorypilot.com. It's really easy. So it's technical socks and custom mud guards, and the sky's the limit. We got a lot of things that'll change for this coming year. But issues and the challenges to run a small business these days, rising to those challenges, and committed to this thing. It's been a lot of fun. It's been a great me to enjoy, and continue to involved in the things that I enjoy the most about cycling and running a team and solving problems. And so it's a lot of fun. And yeah, check it out and grab yourself some socks. People who wear them, they love them and think they're the best. So
cool. All right, man. We'll let you get to the day. We appreciate it, Erik.
Yeah.
Man, these guys are just loaded with stories. Just so good. Certainly do hope that you like that interview with Erik out in California. Going to be coming back for our Grand Fundo for Project Echelon, and our team launch coming up March 18th and 19th. Up next, Action Jackson, Ian Jackson. He's been requested. Well, guess what? You got him.